Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Israel Pod. My name is Michaela. Today, we have a very special guest with us. Some of you may even know her from Nordic Israel Congress that happened this spring in Norway. Anaelle Meyer, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm very excited that you're here. We have a very important conversation today, and I think most of our listeners know about you already. But for those who do not know, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. So, I'm a researcher at NGO Monitor. We are a research institute based in Jerusalem. We've been around for almost 25 years now. We're celebrating 25 years this year, which for some will be a celebration. For us, it can be a bit sad because that means that our work is still needed. And so, what we do, we research non governmental organizations active in the Arab Israel conflict. We look at their staff, their activities, their funding, anything really that they post themselves. We look at open source information, their social media, their annual reports. And unfortunately, a lot of time, we don't see human rights organizations, NGOs, doing what they say they're doing, which is promoting human rights, democratic values, etc. We see another aspect that is very biased, especially when it comes to Israel-Palestine conflict. And we write reports. We have hundreds of reports on several organizations worldwide, all active in the Arab-Israel conflict. And all, again, open source-based research.
So, this work you're doing is research of other NGOs that call themselves as democratic, human rights, and you call out the double standards. That
Yes.
Okay, it's very
Yes.
interesting. I recently, not long ago, heard about your NGO, and I was very, very much intrigued by your mission, what you're doing. I think everyone who's interested in this Israel Palestine conflict and in general world politics should know of the NGO you're representing to us today. Um, what's your field in expertise when you do the research?
So each researcher, we're a team of about 20 people, and each researcher has a different geographical area. I am in charge of all the Scandinavian countries, so Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland. And what it means is that I look at the organization funded by those governments, and not only the one funded, but also the one active locally, meaning any organization that have been involved in protest in the soil of Sweden or Norway, that have been in universities, etc. I take a look at their activities and I write reports on them, with the goal at the end of the day to make sure that they are held accountable, that the governments know what they are funding, which organization they are funding, that those organizations, we have information about them. The public needs to know where the money, the tax money is going to which organizations. And so we ask for transparency. And so it doesn't only end at research. A lot of time it goes also to being in contact with policymakers, with governments, and show them, hey, look at this report. You've been funding this organization, and this organization does not believe in Israel's right to exist, even though your policy is a two-state solution. This organization has been inciting violence or has been promoting racism or hate, anti-Semitism. This organization is working with terrorist groups in Gaza.
Wow.
And so we show all that to governments with the hope that, first of all, they will change their policies. Maybe they will cut funding. It happened. We have previous precedents of that. And that also the general public in the countries will be aware that that's happening. The money doesn't always go to the right organizations, and the government should be transparent about that.
How would you describe Norway's support for Palestinian organizations. I mean, I'll ask you differently. How would you describe their support, the Norwegians' support for Palestinian organizations, but before October 7th?
So, as I said, we've been around for 25 years.
A long
Meaning,
time.
yes, if everything was perfect, we will not be around anymore.
Right.
So even prior to October 7, we've been raising the same issues over and
Yes.
over again. I remember at one point, our president asked me to look at one organization specifically called Al-Haq, which is a Palestinian organization that is linked to the PFLP, a terror organization. And he told me, try to look back 20 years ago, what kind of reports they came out with, what kind of statement. And already 20 years ago, there were genocide, starvation, apartheid. All of that was already there.
Nothing's new.
Nothing is new. Nothing is new. It's just been amplified way more post-October 7. I think those organizations have not changed their vision or their agenda. They're still a lot of time anti-Israel and very transparent about that. But with the war, they've been more vocal. They've been more active. There have been more networks of organizations working together, not each one on their own. They've really been everywhere. And we're not talking only about saying Israel is a genocide state or things like that. We're talking about going to courts, doing lawfare, attacking Israeli soldiers in courts, or all the arms embargo cases we've seen around the world. We're seeing all the encampments or in campuses around in the US, in the Netherlands. We see all the different reports, all the governments using those reports, the UN using the NGOs reports about Israel starving Palestinians in Gaza. So they've been having impacts on every single aspect of the conflict. And while it might be not, like a terrorist group like Hamas, where they fight on the ground, where it's an actual battle, it is a battlefield that's just not as obvious because, again, all those organizations, at first glance, you think they're promoting the rights of the Palestinians or just human rights in general. So the public tend to believe them, tend to think they can trust their reports, they can trust anything they say. But the trickiest part is a lot of those organizations, international organizations, not even the Palestinian one, they're doing good work elsewhere in other conflicts around the world. But when it comes to Israel, Palestine, and because also Gaza is a very complicated zone, a conflict zone with terrorist groups embedded inside this area, it's more complicated. And so you see that maybe one organization that can be trustworthy on certain issues might not be when it comes to Israel-Palestine.
It's a much more complex picture than anyone can ever imagine. I mean, it's also sometimes very difficult to be here in the Middle East and you're trying to spread the truth about what's happening and how the infrastructure is built on such vile, dirty morals in Gaza. And now we need to go and explain this to the Western society. It's not an easy job at all. Have you changed as part of the NGO Monitor? Have you seen or noticed a change in your approach after October 7th?
I think yes. I'll start by saying yes. I think because now more governments are interested in this topic, I think NGOs was always kind of a side issue, let's say. No one took it as seriously as the UN.
Right.
But with the war, we've seen that actually those organizations have a lot of power. So I think there's way more attention on us. way more need for reports, for information. And again, depending on the governments, we've been working worldwide with the US, Canada, Europe, throughout Europe, now also been in Brazil, Japan, Australia. Like, we go all around, and each country has their own rules, their own policies regarding NGOs and transparency and which one they fund, etc. So we adapt to each one. But overall, I do think there's a much greater interest in the work we provide.
That's
And
great.
it is great, and
Good
I hope it
news.
continues because
Yes.
we see
The
the
need for it.
impact. Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, once October 7th happened, somehow it gave me hope. I saw, okay, it can't be worse than this. That's what I hoped, you know. October 7th happened, and it was as tragically as it was and awful in modern history. I thought, this is it. Like, now the West will actually, without question, side with Israel, because they see that it's not about a land. Our neighbors are not so interested about the land. But then, you know, Western democracies had their public opinion as, you know, you'd see demonstrations everywhere, resistance by any means necessary. And that was like, I was just like, speechless, like I am now. And the leaders of these people didn't hear anything from them, which was the most scary part, because it was so obvious that health officials, part of UNRWA, were also in a mask, you know, part of murdering innocent civilians in Israel on October 7th. So that's also why your NGO is so important. And I had hope that, you know, October 7th would...
We all had.
Yeah,
We
right?
all had hope. But I can tell you that when October 7 happened, already a couple days later, there
Yeah.
were already calls against Israel and saying Israel's committing a genocide.
Yeah.
And when I say a couple days, so it happened 7 of October, 9 of October. You already see
It's
statement
insane.
by those NGOs.
It's insane.
So it's not even, no matter what happens to us and the war we've been through, I think the message stays the same. Even today, actually, several pro-Palestinian NGOs and also Palestinian NGOs have released a statement saying that they don't want to work with other civil society that promote peace, that are peaceful. So that already tells you
Exactly.
that's their agenda. They don't.
No need to analyze between the sentences here.
They say it clearly. They're not afraid to say it. And that might be also one good part of October 7 and
Right.
afterwards, is that a lot of governments, but also organizations, the UN, they're not hiding anymore if they hate Israel or if they, you know, they're very vocal about it. The problem is that a lot of people don't say anything. Even if they're against it, it's, people are quiet.
Have you noticed trends in public debate that go, like, considering policymakers that are in public debate? Have you noticed any trends that they say or perspectives that they keep after October 7th, which is the call for ending Israel or going against Israel?
So with policymakers, again, it depends on the country. But if we're talking about Scandinavian countries,
yes,
Norway, for example, the government has not been very friendly to Israel. It's a government also that doesn't recognize Hamas as a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
So when you start with that, you already know that you cannot expect currently, with the current government, a lot to happen, any support for Israel. But when you look at Sweden, Sweden has done some good change in their policies when it comes to funding NGOs. They've added requirements such as an organization that is not promoting democratic values, that is promoting anti-Semitic things, etc. They won't get funding. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And we sure hope a lot of countries will do that. So depending on each country, some are taking action. They're actually seeing that there's a problem, and they want their taxpayers to be happy, right? But others, no. And until there's election, you don't expect any changes. But one issue also that comes with it, with the countries that do want to make change, is that they don't always know how to do the change. So for instance, some countries will stop funding organization directly. They will say, okay, we won't, I don't know, they might be problematic, so we won't fund them. But then we're going to give money to the UN, and the UN deals with it. They will give money to the organization. So on the government's head, they're like, okay, we've done a good job. We provided money, humanitarian aid. But it goes to the UN. And we have several reports on that, the UN, a lot of it is being diverted. They work with local partners that are affiliated to terrorist groups. So then the problem stays the same, but the government has no responsibility anymore because it's the UN, not them.
It's insane. I sort of lose my vocabulary because, it's just crazy to even think about and comprehend that this is the world we live in today. And October 7th didn't only change things here in Israel and turned 360 degrees the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It changed the world. It became more polarized, I would say, also. And the people of the free world, it's like, it should be so obvious, super obvious. Your moral compass should just lead you in the right direction. And last week I was fortunate to be part of a combat anti-Semitism movement event in Tel Aviv. They had an event called Voices for Truth, and it's a great title and initiative, but it's insane that we actually need the Voices for Truth. It's just
also it feels like even if you give all the facts, you give the truth, but you're not being heard a lot of times, which is also complicated because we have the facts, they're all there, the numbers, everything, but then a lot of people, and if we come back to the NGOs, between listening to a Jewish woman or to a Jewish state and listening to an organization that calls itself Human Rights Watch or listening to the UN, they listen to the UN and Human Rights Watch. Our voice, even if it's factual and it's truth, is not always gonna be heard.
Relevant. It's sad. Have you noticed, because your field is, let's say, part of it is for Scandinavian countries, and you're here today, so you speak up, and it's so important. And have you noticed any backlash when you speak up from the Scandinavian countries? Have you and your NGO received messages, or have they reached out to you? And when you call them out, is there no response at all from the other side, or is there a response somehow?
So it's a case-by-case basis. I think recently we've had a lot of responses because we came out with this big report that is based on Hamas documents that were found in Gaza, retrieved by the IDF and declassified, and then we got a bunch of them, hundreds of documents, Arabic language. And those documents basically explain the whole humanitarian aid sector in Gaza and how Hamas has taken control of it. So it named several international organizations, one of the most famous one, Norwegian Refugee Council, that is funded by Sweden, Denmark,
Of course,
and Norway. So in those documents, we found so many good things. I mean, for us, it's good
Yeah,
because it's research
gold.
and it's exactly. But we see meetings between international organization and Hamas members, and we see that all Hamas had this thing called guarantors, which are local staffer inside all of the international organizations that would provide information to Hamas about the projects of the organization, finances, anything really. There would be those so-called guarantors, like an NGO liaison between the NGO and Hamas. And so we came out with this report, obviously naming and shaming several NGOs. And a lot of them responded with statements, not directly to us, but with statements saying that everything we've said has
Public
been...
statements.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything we've said was not true. A lot of them also responded after a few days, meaning we published the reports, and instead of doing a thorough, investigation into what we wrote and the dates, etc., the people mentioned, no, there was only after a few days. That is not true. NGO Monitor is lying, which already tells you a lot.
For sure.
So yeah, we do have backlash, but as long as what we put out, as I said, most of our reports is open fact based, right? It's
so
you
clear.
click. It's on social media. It's on their Facebook. So when you have everything there, we're not inventing anything. So they can have any opinion on us as an organization. There are many opinions about us, but at the end of the day, what we put out outside are all factual.
Yeah.
So they can argue with that, but a lot of time they don't argue with that, which is not too. Yeah.
They stay.
They just want to. They say, okay, it's not real.
Right.
Okay, why not?
Right.
Show me the record. They won't.
Would be very cool to start a open debate where you, let's say, as a researcher at NGO Monitor, come up front to the stage with another NGO from another NGO, and you have a debate there.
The question is if they will agree to
Yeah,
debate.
exactly.
We agree, of course. We would love that, but I don't think they would.
I think your organization is more relevant than ever. Even, as you said previously, perhaps even more relevant now than before, as opposed to before October 7th. I just... Also, the leaders of the NGOs, what's your interest in not coming up front? Are your hands also responsible on funding terror groups? It's ridiculous. I mean, for the public, bottom up, they don't know more than what they hear and see. We get information from so many different sources today. So I get it. It's very hard to know where you want to, like, what to listen to, especially if you have no clue of what's going on in the Middle East. What would you encourage, let's say, the Norwegian people who are interested, but perhaps not so engaged and don't carry so much knowledge of what's going on, and all they see is social media content of how Israel is the big bad wolf. It's easier said than done, because when I ask people, what would you recommend people to do in order to be more, to get more knowledge, they say, go educate yourself. But it's
aware.
It's an
How?
empty... Yeah, right. What would you say?
I mean, for us, the main thing is that people should be aware of what their governments are doing, first of all, with their money. Because at the end of the day, it's people paying their taxes.
Exactly.
So they should be able to come up to their government, send a letter, create petitions, I don't know, anything, but to know what's happening. Transparency. Demand as a democratic nation, right? Norway is not democratic. So they should be able to tell their people who they are funding, for what purpose, who those organizations are working with, for what purpose, how are they working together? In which way? There's certain things, it's very surface level. When you look at Sweden and Norway in particular, their website is pretty good. It's pretty transparent, but it's very surface level. It will be, okay, we provided X amount of money for these years to this organization. Okay, but they're not working alone.
Yeah.
Who are the implementing partners?
Yeah.
And that is the thing I recommend people is, first of all, to be aware this is happening. There's always going to be money going to Gaza, to Palestine. There are always, now we're talking about, the reconstruction of Gaza. It's going to be billions of euros.
Wow.
So it's going to happen. So
Yeah.
let's make sure that if it happens the correct way.
Not to fund tunnels.
Not to fund tunnels, not to help Hamas regain its forces, not another October 7.
Yes.
So if we actually, and that's why I always say a lot of people are against all this oversight of the NGOs. They're like, no, but then we cannot work, we cannot. If there's oversight, the aid will actually get to the people in need. If there's no oversight, the aid will go to terrorists. So that's something that the public needs to know about, to make sure to hold their government accountable, to try to get as much information as they can, to reach out also to the people that are doing this work, if it's NGO Monitor or any other organization. I think there's plenty of amazing organizations, MIF included, that have the information, that know where to get it, and that can help people get better educated, as we say. So just be part of the community that actually check the facts.
And are there any cases that you've been working on? Let's zoom into Norway in this case. Have you seen organizations that are receiving Western funding that go directly to terror groups, or how have you?
So I think it's between 2023 to 2025, there was this program funded by Norway that goes to Al-Haq, which I mentioned earlier. Al-Haq is PFLP linked. It has been designated as a terrorist organization in Israel in 2021. It has been sanctioned by the US Treasury, I think last year, for promoting, for working together with the International Criminal Court to arrest Israeli officials. So this organization, it's a known thing. It is terror linked, and it has received direct money from Norway. It wasn't through something else, but direct money. And we saw also in Sweden, this organization also received money through a Palestinian organization. So Sweden gives money to this Palestinian organization that then provide to several organizations. And thanks to our research, this program funding was cut in half. It was supposed to be 120 million Swedish kroners. Now it's 60 million kroners, and ending this year, meaning hopefully it won't be renewed.
Wow, yes.
So yeah, we found these things, and that's only Scandinavia. Imagine other countries, right? You go to look at Spain, you look at France also. There's so many different examples, unfortunately.
I think this is a great opportunity also for NGO monitors, because you're not only trying to show the transparency of funding terror groups, especially in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, you're also initiating a wake-up call for the public of the West to actually realize, wait, where does my money go? I think many Norwegians after October 7th also asked themselves this question. And also especially when the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Norway were sent on a delegation to Iran not long ago, which is the main provider of and funder of these proxy terror groups surrounding Israel.
What are we gonna do with Norway?
Seriously, we need some serious change there.
Yeah.
That's obvious. What's happening there is not only a problem, but it's so transparent.
Mhm.
what the government has been doing all these years.
Yes.
And also, what's their interest in dealing with this? It's, at the end of the day, makes it clear it's all about money. That's
Mhm.
where the money goes, and I
Yes.
guess it's a circle after that. But to stand on a stage and to say you stand for human rights, democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and then you go make deals with the devil behind closed doors, it's hypocrisy
Yeah.
on another level. So the world is fortunate to have NGO Monitor,
Thank you.
and your mission is very, very much important. I encourage everyone to go into NGO Monitor's website to read. They have all these incredible articles and cases. Evidences are there, transparent. What more can you say? It's crazy. I mean, I can also speak from my own experience in Norway as a girl, young Jewish girl growing up. We briefly learned about the Holocaust. It was like a chapter you have to go to get through, but it wasn't really, no research, no questions, barely who were Norway under, World War II.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing. Wow.
So it's scary, It's, of course, the anti-Semitism will rise because they're not educated from their own history. So
There's no the education nowadays is first of all very biased. I
yeah,
don't know at university what you experience, but I know that many Jewish students so like teacher actual professor being biased
yeah,
against
yeah, yeah.
Israel.
He praised October 7th.
Yeah.
I
So
think it was in Stavanger, this
yeah.
professor. And the government didn't say anything about
Oh,
it.
that said that it was a celebration.
Celebration.
So this person is on a
Yes.
board of an
Mhm.
NGO based in Norway
Okay.
called the Palestine Committee, which also hopefully we'll have a report on very soon because it's been an organization promoting terrorists
We
for a
will
while.
keep our eyes
Yeah.
open for this one, for this report.
It's all connected. It's crazy.
Seriously.
So this is what you have in universities all around the world, not only in Norway. You see it everywhere. And so that's, when education is so anti-Israel, then it's going to be difficult to get past that. Only with new education that's more informed, hopefully, in the future.
Would you say that the new education would be reliant on actually accepting your history and learning the history? Like, take it.
Yeah.
You may not be proud of it, but stand with it. This is your
Yeah.
history.
And we see that it actually worked pretty well with Germany.
Exactly.
I've had many German friends who at school they learn very well about the history of the country, and we see that overall Germany is a friendly country to Israel. They've been lately this past I think it was 2 years ago after the war. Germany has created this motion saying that if an organization is against Israel's right to exist or is promoting anti-Semitism, they're not getting funding. So it already tells you. So it starts with the education that the country, the government is willing to give to its people, and then it also shows in policies and their also relationship with Israel. So I don't think it's over for Norway. I don't think that's it.
Still,
No,
it's a long way to
but
there.
there's a very long way, and I sure hope that in the future it will be easier for Jewish and also non-Jewish
Yeah.
people supporting Israel and supporting the Jewish people, because it's difficult.
Also, definitions like words such as anti-Semitism, Zionism, all these things get mixed up, and
Yes.
people that don't know the real purpose behind it, they misuse these words. And somehow Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East, has become a Zionist, racist, fascist state.
Yeah, white supremacy. Voilà.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My wish is that, people who, I assume that people who already made up their mind, there's no one to talk to. It's like talking to a wall.
Yeah.
But people who genuinely want to know more, they listen and they go to all different sources, even pro-Palestine sources.
Yeah.
But just to, read, learn, ask questions. Don't just assume because you saw this pro-Palestinian influencer on social media going viral, that's the truth.
And also have the conversation. I know it's
Yeah.
not always easy, but it seems like nowadays no one can speak about these topics. It gets heated, and and straight away you get called as a Zionist, as a white supremacist, as a fascist, and there's no conversation. So a lot of people that might not be sure of their views, who might be in between, and like, I don't know exactly what I believe, they might be scared. They cannot speak because they will be accused of being the worst person in the whole entire world just for maybe asking something about Israel or trying to rationalize the conflict. So that's also an issue of people not willing to speak to each other.
It's unfortunate.
Yes.
Because as we see this digital world keep developing, I notice at least, that people are not so interested to talk. The knowledge they get is from their screen.
And with the algorithm always showing what they want to
believe, what you want to see.
You're pro-Palestinian, you get pro-Palestinian videos. And same with Israelis and Jews.
Yeah.
So we're stuck in our own mindset, and there's no open discussion, open debate, anything. It's
a problem.
Yeah.
Because it creates tension and hate, and all the dirt comes with it.
Yeah.
If you could give an advice to policymakers who genuinely see the problem, but they still care for the civilians in Gaza who are innocent, but they still wanna fund them with humanitarian aid without terror groups benefiting from any of it. I know it's like the $1 million question here, but what would your advice be?
I mean, that question is really the goal of NGO Monitor, is to be able to answer that.
Yeah.
And I can proudly say that we've been answering that question in several parliaments around the world. Only last month, our vice president, Olga Deutsch, and me, we flew to Stockholm to talk there at the parliament and to discuss those issues, showing what our organization, the Swedish government, has been funding and what can they do to prevent more of this funding. And it's one thing that I always want to very clearly say is that NGO Monitor is not against any of the funding, right? We don't want to stop humanitarian aid from happening, and that's
important to know. Yeah,
exactly. A lot of people think like, oh, we ask for oversight, and that means we don't want any help, we don't want any organization to work. No, no, aid is needed everywhere in the world, in Gaza as well, but there's a way to do it. And so what we always say to governments is, first of all, transparency, vetting, a lot of vetting. Just be aware of where your money is going. Don't stop funding, but double check. If I can find on Facebook a picture of this staffer of the NGO with the Hamas terrorist, you can also. Okay, as I said, and that's why it works that we're open source based, because everything we find, they can find. Okay, there's a link.
One click away.
One click away. Sometimes it's many clicks, but you get there. It's there. If we found it, they can find it. So that's what we recommend. You have to look at where and to which NGOs you are giving money, the way they use their money, and who are the local partners. Because that's one thing they forget. I don't know if they forget, it's in purpose, it's not, but they're not looking into the local partners. And a lot of time, these are the ones that are problematic because there are local Gazans. And as we said, Hamas is everywhere in Gaza. It is. So lately, there's been this whole debate about the new visa registration process for a humanitarian aid organization working in Gaza. And a lot of international organization has not received this visa because they did not pass requirements of the Israeli government, which include providing names of their staffer, which funnily enough they do to Hamas. They provide names of their staff to Hamas, but for Israel it was a big issue, and they went to the Supreme Court in Israel against those new visa regulation, etc. But a lot of organizations actually passed the requirement, and they can work in Gaza and they receive the visa because these organizations are not working with Hamas or any terrorist group.
Yeah.
Meaning it's possible. It happens. I don't say it's not complicated. It can be. We all know it's a conflict zone that's complicated, but it is possible, and several organizations are able to do it. So why should we let those who are not to work in Gaza? Why? Why are they allowed to work if they're working together with a terrorist group? So that's everything at the end of the day, it connects because the governments need to know which organization to trust
And where the money is going.
and where the money, and without asking the question and without having strong enough policies, strong enough regulations, they will never know.
Right.
They hide very well the organization, who they're working with and how. And it's the government's role to do that research before they fund anything.
Thank you. I think what the terror groups, let's say parentheses, Iran has been doing very, very well is knowing step by step how to take advantage of the transparency and trust that is given automatically in a democratic country. It's a real issue.
And particularly in Scandinavian countries,
Yeah.
those countries are the most trustworthy of those big
Of its
international.
citizens.
Yes,
Yeah.
people trust the UN so much, and it's heartbreaking for them. I saw it when I flew to Sweden, when I fly to Norway. I see that for the general public, it's heartbreaking to think that those organizations are not trustworthy. It's horrible.
It's you pop the
bubble,
ideal
yeah.
bubble, the dreamy world of world peace that you think exists. I mean, we all wish it exists.
We all wish.
But it's more complicated than that.
And you'd think also what's complicated is a lot of those organizations, they used to be, I won't say good because that's too of an easy word, but
Yeah.
they used to be trustworthy. Like we
Right.
look even Amnesty International at their beginnings, they were obviously, it's a human rights organization. They had a bunch of ideas and agenda, etc. But it wasn't as biased
Right.
as we can see today. And we see that with several organizations that throughout the years they've become more extreme in their views. And when it comes to Israel, they're it's very obvious the double standard they apply compared to other conflict around the world. And so that's also for the public is complicated because an organization that might have been trustworthy 25, 30 years ago today is something else completely.
For sure. Wow. Get it inside your head, read a little, ask questions, be curious about what's happening out there. I mean, growing up, I had friends surrounding me who were not Jewish. I was always the only Jew. And I took great pride in that. Like, I was never shy about it, or I never hid the fact that I was Jewish. I was always standing proud. I'm Jewish. And I would have friends. They would never, ever ask about the situation, Israel-Palestine conflict, what's happening, nothing. So I assumed, they're my friends. They would support me. And then I remember the war of 21 was short.
Yeah.
but it was enough. A friend I had for 6 years started to not even talk to me about it, to ask, is your family okay? Is everything all right? What's happening? She just posted on social media, Free Palestine. And it's just, from what? Like, it's insane.
Yeah. It's become a trend. First
Yeah.
of all, it's very trendy. Social media is a big part in it.
Yeah.
Universities is a big part in it. And yeah, we've seen this trend happening already a few years ago, before October 7, but with October 7 and the war afterwards that lasted so long, it was, I won't say it's a brainwashing process, but it kind of is in some
Yeah.
ways, of, again, and a lot of the NGOs are behind this, of like putting those words again and again: genocide,
They're
apartheid,
good at it too.
starvation, and ecocide, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
many
yeah.
different words. And at the end of the day, these words
see.
are on social media. They're being shared and shared and shared and shared. And then someone who knows you personally will not even have the thought process of going to you straight away and ask you a question and try to understand. They just follow the trend.
Proud.
Because it looks on social media, and if you look at the NGOs, you look at the UN, it really looks like we're the bad guy, and that the poor Palestinian, etc. And obviously, it's a war. It's a war. There are deaths. It's never
It's
easy.
heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, and you cannot expect a war to be without casualties and obviously civilians.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's one thing I wish, because I had similar experiences with non-Jewish friends and also Jewish friends.
Wow.
Yeah, from the US. So I had very similar things happen, and I always wondered, why are they not coming to me and just ask me the questions? Come to me, and they could be critical. I
sure.
accept the critics, because some of them I agree with even.
Yeah.
But there's no conversation. Again, it's like the same thing. And
Accusations upon accusations.
Exactly. And even when it's people who know you personally, which is even worse, because
It's
you'd
worse.
expect. But no.
First of all, you expect them
Yeah.
to automatically, I don't know why I expect this, maybe I'm just naive, but I expect them to stand by my side, because if they care about me, then they will ask questions after
Yeah.
and support me in that time.
Yeah. But no.
Nothing.
And I think a lot of people, a lot of Jewish young people, but also older, have felt that similar experience, and have lost plenty of friends. And it's difficult to accept this situation, but it's also eye-opening.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it helped a lot of Jews around the world to understand where they stand and how they stand, and also to advocate.
For
To
sure.
advocate for themselves, for the Jewish community, for Israel. So that's the good part out of it. And I sure hope that, even though maybe those friends stop talking to you, or post things on social media, etc., to be able to still come up to them and tell them, like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. I know I tried many times.
Yeah.
Not always with success, unfortunately. But I tried.
That's the most important thing. I mean, for me, I would say I also tried, but from an early age, it felt so personal to me, and it's the win to just take off the emotions and actually speak facts is the most challenging thing, because it's personal,
It is personal.
It is super personal. And to hear those screams and criticizing Israel is fine. You can criticize the government. But a Jew walking on the streets and harassing him and blaming him for the war is outrageous.
Yes.
And it's just history repeating itself.
Yeah, and no one does anything. No
Like
one says
before.
anything.
Exactly.
It's the same. It's exact same. And look at us. We're still young and everything. And look what kind of topics
We're
we're
still
having that are tough topics.
Yeah.
We're talking about, people, anti-Semitism and hatred and like losing friends. It's crazy
Yeah.
what we go through. It's crazy.
It's, you say, I like that. You said, I lost many friends. And it is a loss because you
Yeah.
lose a friend, you're grieving because the relationship is over because the moral,
Yeah.
it does not align with one another. And at the same time, it's a blessing because you don't need people that are giving you noise and,
Yes.
not on the same moral page as you.
Mm-hmm.
I've also noticed that the conflict itself after October 7th affects, let's say, Jews, that the people that are not Jews, affect their relationships with other people because it's so deep.
Intense.
Exactly.
Intense.
Like it's so clear. It's not even about, you can't say you stand neutral. Like it's not an option.
No.
You either stand with the terror group
Yeah.
or you stand with Israel. And it's like,
But then if you stand with Israel, you're seen again as like, oh, you're anti gays and you're
Gays.
anti this and you're so there's no win-win situation
There
there.
is none.
I think for a non-Jew that's not that involved in the conflict, it's also difficult. And I
For
understand,
sure.
I honestly I understand
For sure.
why they would support the pro-Palestinian crowd instead of Israel, because it's just easier.
It is easier.
It's easier.
Less headache, less backlash,
Yeah.
less hate.
So that's also scary, and that's one thing that the pro-Palestinian organization, etc., have been very successful with, is changing overall the
Narrative.
image, the narrative, the image of Israel worldwide, and particularly with young people.
It's a shame. I also think, what should we do different in our work? I don't think there's much we can do differently because you see the anti-Semitism rise, and as much as we try to, first of all, why do I need to explain my right to exist? First of all,
Let's start
let's
there.
start this one.
Yeah.
I don't think people who've made their opinion, it's,
Yeah, so you have to find those people that are in between, that are
I
a bit
know.
lost.
Those, I feel like those I'm not saying go out and scream, we support Israel, Jews have a right to exist in their own homeland, blah, blah, blah. But they're quiet,
They're scared.
They're scared.
I think when you see the protest in the street, a lot of time they're not quite friendly protests. They're not peaceful. They're violent.
see
Things
it all
are
over.
breaking. The
Yeah.
signs are very tough language, and
Yeah.
so that's also scary for
True.
a normal Norwegian person
True.
that lives their little life. They see that. They don't want to
Deal with it.
or say anything, or they're scared. It's a scary situation on all sides. I think it's not easy, but we shouldn't at least lose hope. I
No,
think a lot
never.
of people are doing amazing work and working very hard to try and change the narrative, or at least improve it a little
Exactly.
bit. And some people listen. Some people, they are willing to take the risk and
Yes.
to go and be pro-Israel, even if they're not super loud. They are,
Exactly.
and even if it's one word of support, going to a Jew and tell
For
him,
sure.
I support your country and I'm sorry about everything that happens. Even that is so important, and that helps a lot.
It does, indeed. I've received many, ever since October 7th happened, I've received so many messages from people I don't know, different ages, saying they're embarrassed of the government that is recently, up and going, or that I've also learned about October 8th Jews, which is very very interesting to me.
What is it?
They call themselves October 8th Jews.
Okay.
Which is like they're Jewish, but they didn't make the Jewish life a part of their life, a central part of their life before October 7th. After October 7th, something triggered. like a button turned on or something within themselves, and they felt like they had to speak up and stand up,
Yeah.
which is, you know, it's amazing to see that.
I can say from personal experience,
Yeah.
I was studying to become a lawyer, specifically space law. Okay.
Ooh,
So I did my thesis in space law. I studied international law, things like that. And then I got the opportunity to do an internship with the permanent mission of Israel to the UN,
nice.
September 2023. And so October 2023 happened when I was there, and that changed everything, right? That was no more space. I don't need to go in other space. I can stay right here, and there's enough issues and
Yeah.
enough things to deal with. And I think for a lot of people, that's what happened. They had this switch of, you know what, there's something bigger than me right now. There's something that needs help.
To
And
be
yeah,
treated.
yeah. And that's how also I got into NGO Monitor. It's really,
Very nice.
yeah.
Well, I mean, you are dealing with international law today.
Yes.
In
Yes.
some way. I think most important way too.
Yeah.
Um would you say, even though you had a dream to that led you another way,
Hmm.
would you say that it's a calling that you have, or is it like, were you made to
Mm.
present what you're doing today, or is
I,
it a task that every Jew does what it can do to protect the Jewish state? That's
I mean, it might be a bit of both, but I do think that it feels natural
yeah,
for me. I love it. I love NGO Monitor and the work we're doing, and I think it's so important. So for me to be able to represent the organization's work is very natural. It feels right, and I love the fact that I can help, that I actually can help, that we're an organization that gets impact, which is not always easy in that
for
climate.
sure.
So I'm happy with where I'm at, and I don't regret changing my course. I think it made sense at the time, and it still makes sense to me, and I hope to continue doing that for many, many, many years, until maybe I won't be needed, which will be amazing. But
That would be
that
a
would be the dream,
miracle.
the dream. But for now, space can wait. I'm all for Israel.
Well, you're a superhero.
Thank you.
I encourage everyone to go and check out NGO Monitor to figure out what's happening, which terror groups are surrounding Israel, who's funding what, which countries, which NGOs. I think it's very important. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
If there's any last words you'd say to a young Norwegian who looks at our episode today, what would you tell him?
I'd say don't lose hope. One day things will get better. Stay strong, stay united, help each other out, and come to Israel from time to time. It's fun. It's very fun for vacation when there's no war, obviously. But yeah.
Thank you, Anaelle.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. This was Israel Pod. My name is Michaela. If you want to see Anaelle's work, go into NGO Monitor's website.